heard about Gurdjieff many times through Osho when I was living in Pune in his commune, where I arrived in 1978, but was not particularly attracted by his path. Osho was introducing many different spiritual paths and often, very often, mentioning Gurdjieff.
First time it was in Pune, in Osho Ashram, in 1997. Some friend of mine from Kiev, one woman, asked me to translate for her in the group Gurdjieff dances. At that time I didn't know much English, but she insisted because she heard that I speak English sufficiently, and so I said to myself, Gurdjieff dances. In the dances, normally it's not much to translate. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I said, okay, let's try, let's see. And I didn't know what it's all about. Anything about Gurdjieff or Gurdjieff dances, movements, nothing. And this group was quite intense and long for 6 weeks. And it was first touch with Gurdjieff work and also meeting with Amir. And immediately after a few days, I was so much amazed, impressed by this work, because it brought in me such spaces that I cannot touch these spaces in nowhere, in no other technique, no other meditation. So I immediately thought, wow, this is a pearl, and I never heard about it. It means not only me, it means many people, and it is available. So I already thought that after these 6 weeks I can go in the world and propose to teach some of these exercises in some places, like for musicians, for actors, for people from the art and creativity. And so I already was feeling in myself that I could propose to share this beautiful technique, beautiful process.
am Nartak from Italy, Tuscany, Florence, the town of Renaissance. And I'm a kind of a dancer. I call myself like this because I started late to be a dancer. I was an accountant before. And because I was sleeping too much at my desk, at one point I decided to start to dance, and it was much better. What I discovered through dance is something that is still in progress, because it's the first demand inside myself was to find my inner world. There was a demand so strong since I was maybe 20, and I was asking myself, what am I doing here? And so somehow the existence found a way and showed me through dance, actually through a performance that I saw in a theater in Florence, Martha Graham Dance Company. And I saw this beauty on stage, these beautiful bodies, men and women dancing in a sacred way, I would say, that time. Then I discovered that a dancer is not very much after sacredness, but maybe after some discipline, very strong discipline, but also to be in a outer way means that you have to show yourself in front of an audience. And for me, it was not enough. So I decided to travel while I was already working as a contemporary dancer. And I started to travel in Nepal, in India, until I found the place where I wanted, and that I was asking for, which was the commune of Osho, where I could find new purposes in my dance. This great teacher, Amio de Vienne, invited me without telling me anything to a 36 hours marathon of this movement, which were unknown to me. And without telling, actually I was taken into the journey of seeing my reactions, seeing my difficulties in learning such difficult movement. And I think all my being was kind of separated, and I felt like I was thousands of me. And for a few years, I think these thousands of me were so much separated that it was really difficult to put them together again, until I started again, and it was so clear that I had to investigate more deeply into these dances.
Gurdjieff says we are asleep, we are robots, we live automatically, mechanically. And life is kind of this daily routine in which we are not conscious, we are not total. We live with our habits, physical habits, mental habits, emotional habits. We react always to the same thing. Our neighbor may not react, but we do. And this automatic level of energy, mostly that's the level in which we live in ordinary life. So Gurdjieff created a system, I guess more for Westerners, although a lot of his background is in the East, but he brought that to the West for active man. So shock, meaning wake up. His teaching works as an alarm clock for everyone that enter on this path. We wake up through the shock he gives us. We wake up to be more in this moment, here, not caught up by our thoughts, not caught up by all the other events, but really right here. The movement expresses this very well. They are hardly never symmetrical, because with symmetry there is a certain routine and comfort. No, Gurdjieff will never create that. He will create movements that are pretty unpredictable, where the sequences follow each other in a way that is not usual. You may have the arms doing in a rhythm of 6, the feet in a sequence of 6, the feet in a sequence of 4, the head in a sequence of 2. That's quite easy. Sometimes also 5 combined with 9. So this forces us to be very aware both of, for example, the legs and the arms with the same force. So the attention first focalized very soon has to open to an open attention, an attention that can include more and more elements.
Fourth way. Briefly, in few words, I can say that fourth way, it is the fourth. The fourth, it means people have a tendency, according to their personality, individuality. Someone is more physical type. His life is guided or led by his identification with the body, and all from the body, about the body, for the body. And I'm not speaking just the body as a physical body, but material body, physical. And another person is more emotional. So is more passionate, more feelings, more emotions. But third person, it can be intellectual. So mindy, very rational. And all this, it's just identification, our way, how we developed from the childhood ourselves in order to survive in this life. And also there is a lot background of energetic type and astrology chart, but still we are getting into these boxes of physical type, emotional type, intellectual type, and then this is how we live. This is what rules our life. So fourth way, it is when person starts to get out of this identification. Yeah? It's like there is a path of fakir. It's the path of physical type. There is a path of yogi, which is intellectual type, and there is path of monk. Yeah? It's a devotion, it's emotional feeling type. And so when somebody can see that he is not identified with one type, but neither with another type, it's not about to change one type to another, it's to go beyond, yeah? To overpass, to transcend these types, which belongs to the human body mind mechanism, organism. Yeah, when we come beyond this, then, or when we can combine the three, yeah, and especially with the movements, it's very, very, very helpful, because movement, they carry in themselves the possibility to bring us more in contact with the ground, with the body, because this is the base, this is where we live, in this body, and the body does the movements. But also mind is involved very much. You have to be present, you have to be present to the sequences, to pattern, to counting, to choreography. So the mind is very much involved. And when we can combine already two, mind and body, the feelings comes. Feeling comes also by itself, just from the state of the posture, of the transition. Physical, the energy evokes some emotion, feelings, but also from the music that mostly was written by Gurdjieff and Thomas de Hartmann, that have, especially the music that was composed by Gurdjieff in collaboration with de Hartmann. It has in it this kind of objective art which Gurdjieff brought to the world, which movements also belong. Objective art, and it brings it gets us in touch with deeper feelings. It's not just emotions, superficial emotions. This music of Gurdjieff, it's immensely deep. When we just listen to this music, even just listen, it can take us very deep. But with the movements, it multiplies, it magnifies, because it adds also physical type and intellectual type part. So when three parts are united in one moment, in one movement, in one action, then suddenly there is a certain opening and something else appears. Fourth.
fourth way is really one of the branches that is available when we want to work, and through the work of Gurdjieff and Ospinski and combined with Osho, the fourth way becomes a living way when there's enough students that wants to be willing to free themselves from the mechanic living. And being the fourth way, it has a higher potential and faster development than the three previous ways. Also, it's more spontaneous, and in that way this process is very beautiful in the sense that the fourth way never happens in the seclusion of society. It happens in our day-to-day life, and we need to, or for myself, I need to receive the tools in order to practice them where the friction is the most, which is of course in my day-to-day life at home, without having the support of a group, but present to life. So that is really the jewel within the work, is to be here to receive the information and the skills that is needed in order to transform my automatic being, my patterns, that is not giving me more freedom but is taking away energy. So I bring them back to my daily life now, and then I can have this as a way of gaining more freedom and insight, being more conscious about others and myself.
Fourth way, it's actually the way of someone who can embrace the other three ways, the common ways, which is the way of the fakir, the way of the monk, and the way of the yogi, as Gurdjieff was calling them, means physical exploitation to the limits until you get maybe some inner knowledge, to be devoted to the superior, like in religion and the monks, and to know and to learn the way of the yogi. The fourth way wants to meet the three possibility in one new one where you act in the world as well. You are not going and separate yourself in a monastery, or you don't practice alone the art of a fakir, or you are not only studying, but you are in the world of everyday life, and you act there. Maybe you have a family, and you give your best, and you do your best in this surrounding, in your surrounding.
Gurdjieff work mostly is a group work, and others are always functioning as a shock for us. Sartre say other are hell. It's just that we are not always resonating and vibrating on the same frequency, and we can function as alarm clock for each other in a group, and also, of course, the movement. In movement, as everybody has a very specific role to fill up in the movement. Usually you don't do the same as your neighbor. You have a specific task, and it helps you feel part of this chain, link in the chain, and also to develop very strong sensitivity to each other and friendship. Our ups and downs and our fights as in our relationship, of course, like everyone else. But when you step in the group, you owe to the people not to let that absolutely interfere in your work. The respect we have for the people, the reverence for the movement, for the teaching, is a strong force that helps us drop. Actually, it's a bit what we were talking today about this line of lower part of yourself surrender to a higher part of yourself. When you teach, a higher part of yourself is triggered, and then all the pettiness, the struggle, the conflict of personality and emotional reaction, they drop. You let go, because in the name of harmony, you are leading. You cannot let that interfere. So we're very conscious of that.
opening from where we can see what is needed in this moment. It's not possible to say that this and this and this exercise will bring everybody to the same spaces. We are all individuals, we have our background, we have our tendencies. One can be body-oriented, one can be mind-oriented. Different centers dominate in different people. So we have to see what can help to this person, what can help to that person. Of course, we are using as a technique, as a method, Gurdjieff movements, Gurdjieff exercises. But not only, we have some Osho techniques, we have some readings and information and knowledge that we bring from different sources, from the books of Madame de Salzmann, Hazrat Inayat Khan, Osho, how do you say, Bennett. So from different sources we have certain understanding how to help to different people.
Nowadays in the normal life we are so again a little away from ourselves, and dances are a great opportunity to recognize who you really are. Beginners arrive to this work and has kind of expectations and want to be able to dance immediately rightly, like if it was something that like a normal style of dancing. But immediately a beginner find the work hard. Some of the beginners love to enter this work because it suits their own essence and being. Some others, they start to react for a long time. But it's not the one who is talented and in the end is the great and the best dancer in these dances, but it's the normal people. They are not dancers. They come here and I think with a certain humbleness, and people that at the beginning react because of course it's not easy to gather all the forces to stay, like for example in this case 3 weeks working from morning until night. So they gather all the energy they have, all the strength they have, and in the end it's amazing the changements I can see in these beginners. It seems like they come to a new life and they are able to be astonished and wondering and amazed by the complexity, but also the beauty of these dances.
Without changing, notice the position of the torso and head.
Заметьте позицию вашего туловища и головы.
the reason I stop is because of this also, and it is so deeply. And now you are doing something like this and you come back. We are never straight, either here or here. Never here. You have to let go. You can, with your body so fit, you can really go much more. No, it doesn't go from the head, it goes from the torso. Also, you can let go a bit more.
Shock, Gurdjieff used a lot of shock because it's a provocation. It's a provocation to turn the pattern of the mind or the repertoire of the mind in which people live. Most of the people, they have a certain way of thinking, certain way of seeing things, and when we are in the seminar, sometimes people hear what we say, but they interpret in a different way. They interpret in their way, in their understanding. And to make a shock, it means to make a sudden turn in their way of thinking, their way or habitual way of seeing things, interpreting things. And sometimes it can be by a sudden instruction during the movement. You can say to add one element or to take away one element, which makes a shock because people go in an automatic doing this and that. Or you can say stop, like Gurdjieff used to do this exercise, stop exercise. When there is a flow and sudden stop, it shocks you, but it makes you to be aware, to become aware suddenly. Where were your thinking? Where were your thoughts? Where were your emotions? How were your body in that moment?
Thinking of trying one of these seminars, I can only highly recommend it. It's kind of surprising to me that the movements aren't more popular in the world. Or at least I feel that we should try to spread the movements, share the movements more, because they're so beautiful and we're using the body, so this is such an easy entry point into meditation. You don't need any experience at all to benefit from the movements. And even a 1.5 hour class can have a very profound effect, an immediately noticeable effect, immediate.
Well, if you're new to the movements, then you're very lucky to find the movement in the first place, because it's not so easy to find. So it is really one of the best gifts and best ways of working with yourself, and I really just recommend you to try it and to be in the field of supportive group work as it is, and come with an open presence being and allow yourself to be touched by what goes on within yourself and through the dance and the movements.
I really amazed and impressed of the work of Gurdjieff because every movement has a different facet, has a different taste, different flavor, creates different space inside that nothing else can help to produce it.
transformation of myself started when I realized that there is something more than just lines, dancing, that there is something beyond it, beyond mind, beyond the physical body. That there is some grace or some force that actually you surrender to when you, of course, let go. So I was working a lot to know myself. Who am I? What are my difficulties? What are my good things? What are my potentials? So to know myself. With this work, I become more conscious, more calm. I can find my inner space, inner calm point inside of myself from which I can be. It's very helpful, especially the method of making a shock. Because when in these movements, in Gurdjieff movements, it's a lot of, actually it's based on shock. So you can see your shadows or mechanisms and you start to observe. So everything comes first from observation and then you can change. It's a way of surrendering, or we could say way of not fighting, way of heart in a way, because you accept yourself that in this moment you are what you are, so you are 100% in this life circle, you are united with everything, so you make everything that lives as one fullness.
center in Mexico City, my current teacher from there started teaching Gurdjieff movements. So this is how I came to this discipline. And I remember from the first moment that I practiced this movement, circles, home circle, I really connected with the movements. So it just trapped me in a way, so I just continued practicing since then, and I've been really searching to go deeper into this discipline and to understand it more.
So you could say the movements actually took over?
Yes, in a way, it's they just came into my life. I was not looking for it. It's happened many times to me that I'm looking for something else, and I find what I was really wanting without knowing it. So it's been a very beautiful journey of discovering this discipline from outside and inside. And the way I see it now is that it also combines three things that I really love, which are dance, music, and meditation. Especially the piano and the musical sense. I've played the piano since I was a kid. I really loved piano. So last year I came to understand that this is one of the things I like about this discipline, that it combined. I didn't have to separate or live these three aspects of my life separately, so that I could join them and go deeper into them together.
When I'm actually practicing the movements, I find it to be the best way for me to be present in the moment. I have a very active mind, and one particular quality of the movements is that it brings presence to the mind. The mind cannot wander into the past or the future or into the dreamlike states. Has to be exactly in the moment because of Gurdjieff's special techniques, particularly his counting techniques, which keep the mind present. And I would say in my daily life, and this reflects in my daily life, I can be more present with what is going on in the moment. Not all the time. It gives me a technique for coming back to the present. There are moments when I'm practicing the movements when there's a state where I can see my body practicing the movement, all in that I can see the feet, the arms, the head, all moving together without my actually doing anything, without my putting any kind of effort. It's just happening. These moments aren't, they're not all the time, but when they come, they are exactly the same as what Osho talks about when he describes becoming the witness. Becoming the witness to everything that's happening inside your body and outside it, without identification.
I feel like I didn't do enough work in order to be serene and calm as I wish I to become, but I am on the way, and I'm perseverant, and I'm sure that this way is the way that I was longing for since life, and this I know because the feelings are so strong, and I recognize that my being now is happy to do what he's doing. Before I didn't know what I was doing. Now I can see the force all around me, and I can see that I can vibrate with this force without attaching myself to this force, without wanting to possess. And I recognize this force in myself, and I see that all the movement inside me, it's me, but it's not me. It comes from the life itself. And I have the occasion to, in doing these dances, to show how it's beautiful, harmony and grace in a body. And my body is grateful. I am grateful to my body. I am grateful to my soul that was looking for a way like this. And I'm really excited to see what's on the future reserved me.
We are at the center, and there is life and others at the periphery. And the work of Gurdjieff is to be aware of ourselves and the periphery.
To reach an inner state in which we are no more acting to get the movement right for our own, to look for result for ourselves. Maybe you strive to make it correctly, which is good, but it's not to serve our ego. Maybe it is to serve harmony, beauty, togetherness. The movement are channeled for some forces. All kind of forces are around us. Lower forces, higher forces. And there is the material world, and there is the spiritual world. And the spirit wants to be made flesh and bone, wants to be embodied through us, wants to be anchored on this planet Earth through us.
Воплотиться через нас на Землю.
Osho called me, handed over the movie Meeting with Remarkable Men, it's a group movie, done under the guidance of Madame de Salzmann. And Osho said there is nothing remarkable about this movie except the last 10 minutes. And the last 10 minutes is when they showed the 7 dances, 7 movements. So Osho loved this part, and he asked me to find the key of this choreography and to report to him when I found. discover ourselves through the movement. We are in movements. We learn to be. We learn to be now, here, in movements.
Observe the effect.
All in it and seeing what happens now.